Welcome to Dashboard Jesus, the podcast where faith meets the fast lane. Whether you're cruising through calm or navigating life's hairpin turns, we're here to help keep your eyes on the road and your heart grounded in God's Word. So buckle up. It's time to ride with a biblical perspective on the journey of life. Here's your host, Peter Heck.
Quote, "Good riddance. He spent his life spreading poison, and now he's finally gone. Don't waste tears on him." End quote. Quote, "This is karma. When you dedicate your platform to hurting people, don't be surprised when violence comes back your way." End quote. Quote, "Spare me the mourning. The world is a better place without him, and I hope the rest of his movement joins him soon." End quote. Quote, "Why are we pretending this is tragic? He had blood on his hands and justice caught up with him." End quote. Quote, "Anyone crying over him should take a hard look in the mirror. You're defending a monster. This isn't loss, it's progress." End quote. Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what I'm quoting right now. What it actually takes is somebody who is in touch with the current political and social environment. If you've been paying attention for the last couple weeks, you know exactly what I'm doing right now. You know exactly what I'm quoting. I'm quoting social media posts that appeared and were written in the immediate aftermath, in the hours that followed the death of husband and father Christian activist, conservative political activist, Charlie Kirk. Those were some of the posts that appeared on social media, specifically the social media X, which used to be Twitter, and Facebook. Those two. Now, there are others, obviously, but those are the two that I just quoted from. Now, if you think, by the way, that this entire podcast is about the Charlie Kirk thing, it's not. I'm using this as an example because what I would honestly like to know the answer to this question, which obviously you can't say that back to me because this is a podcast. But I want you to think about this honestly. You know specific people in your life that disagree with your political views. And by the way, I guess I'm making an assumption here that most of you that are listening, you probably share similar political, social, religious views as I do. And that's not a fair assumption because I'm sure there are many of you out there that don't, that do listen. So, but I imagine for a second that you're thinking about somebody that you know personally on the other side of the aisle. The other side of the political aisle, the other side of political opinions. I know a number of people who did not and do not subscribe to the ideology of Charlie Kirk and would not subscribe or agree with me ideologically or even religiously on a number of things. The most important things, they would disagree. And I can tell you right now that what I know of those people, they would never, ever in a million years write any of those things. Certainly not post any of those things. Now, I do believe that some of them would think in their minds, well, he was very provocative and he put himself out there. And so as awful as it is, I can't say I'm surprised that it happened. I wish it wasn't that way, but we live in a sick culture and that kind of stuff. When you're out there like that, you got to expect something like that's going to happen. I do think there are people that would say that, but not with any justification or vindication of the act. I do not know, and I'm being honest with you, I do not know a single person who identifies as a Democrat, who identifies as a liberal, as a progressive, and I'm talking about people I know personally. I'm not talking about people that I've seen online or that I follow online and have even clicked the friend like button or whatever that makes us online friends. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people I actually know. I know for a fact in my heart, I know they would never write or believe something like that. Any of those things. And here's my guess. Every single one of you that's listening, when you honestly stop and take stock of the people you know personally, you have a relationship with personally, who are on the opposite side of you and on the opposite side of Charlie Kirk, they would not say this either. So, answer me this. Do those people that you know who would not say this, and I'm thinking about the people I know who would not say this, but who disagree with Charlie Kirk, would they say something like this? This is Dr. Jessica Taylor, writing also on social media. I doubt Charlie Kirk and I would agree on anything, but I do not give a single, and then she uses an expletive. I don't care if we agree on anything, she's saying. A human, she writes, was just publicly executed at a university for having views that other people did not agree with. The fact that there are some so-called anti-gun and anti-violence people on this platform celebrating the violent murder of someone is enough internet for me. I'll tell you, that sounds like those people that I was referring to that I know. Here's Dylan Esper. On the same social media platform, writes this. In a moment like this, I want to tell every conservative and right-winger and MAGA type who follows me that no matter how much I disagree with you, I also love you as a fellow American who has just as much right to speak as I do, and that you are in my thoughts right now. And Dylan Esper, that has a platform, thousands of likes on that statement. That sounds like the people that I know. So, I'm guessing that you and I are largely on the same page in this observation. What do we do with that? What does that tell us? It is possible that we just happen to know between us all of the good ones on the other side. That is possible. But if you ask me, is it plausible? I'm going to tell you, no, it's not. That would be way too high of a coincidence. And here's why I know, because the more people on my side of the aisle that I talk to and ask this same question to, the number of people on the other side that we collectively know who would never say these awful things continues to grow. That wouldn't be possible statistically if we were just happening to land on the few on the other side who are decent people. No, I'll tell you what is far more plausible and what is far more probable. That the voices that I led off with are not real. Are there probably a few nut jobs? Yes. But as it turned out, all 5 of those comments that I led off with, they were all bots. They were all machines that had been programmed to do something. And what is that something that they were programmed to do? Inflame. Now, I am not one for conspiracy theories. Anybody that listens to me knows that. It embarrasses me how easily people fall for conspiracy theories. This is not a conspiracy theory, what I'm about to say. We're being set up. People are profiting over our outrage. This also, what I'm about to say, is 100% accurate and is not a conspiracy theory. If you take away all of the slogans and all of the hashtags, if you strip away all of the activism, What do regular people want? I live in a neighborhood in my town. So I can walk out the door, take about 20 steps, and be at my neighbor's door. And then take another 20 steps or so, and I'm at another neighbor's door. We don't have big front yards here. We can just walk from house to house and go all the way down the road doing that. Live at the front end right now of a cul-de-sac. So I could canvass this whole neighborhood. And I'm going to tell you that if you live in a neighborhood, you could do the exact same thing. And knock on the door and ask the person that answers the door, without having any idea what their political views are, what their religious standing is, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their race, ask them, what do you want? And first of all, they're going to look at you kind of oddly, but if they understood what you were getting at, here's what they want. They want safety for themselves, and if they have family, they want safety for their family. They want honesty from people that they deal with. They want food on the table, and they want a future for their kids that is secure. That's what they want. If you go door to door, that's what every single person that you will talk to, what they ultimately want. And some of those people that you find out from them, that's what they really want, which is what you really want. It's what I really want. If you did a little more digging, you would find that probably about half of those people, and depending on where you live, that's going to be a different statistic. It's going to be skewed a little bit. But let's even say a quarter of those people that you talk to, just being conservative here, a quarter of those people that you talk to, they would fall into the group that you would be inclined to label the radicals on the other side. They vote differently than you. They believe differently on some key issues than you do. And yet, they actually want the same thing. Safety, honesty, food, future. So what's going on then? How is it possible that we have come to believe in this country and this culture that we are split down the middle between frothing at the mouth conservatives who want to destroy the healthcare system and only keep it for the rich, and frothing at the mouth liberals and radicals who want to assassinate all of their political opponents, and they want to institute socialism and communism and destroy the foundations of our civilization? How did we get to that point? I'm going to get into that, and it's not going to be a long podcast. I'm going to tell you exactly what I believe is happening and exactly how we fix it right after this. Imagine a new kind of investing, a potentially life-changing way to invest that honors biblical principles, the kind of principles that you and I grew up with. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has made biblically responsible investing possible, offering mutual funds and ETFs that are filtered for biblical principles. Don't compromise your values. Invest with Timothy Plan. Ask your financial advisor or call Timothy Plan at 1-800-TIM-PLAN. Again, that's 1-800-846-7526, and discover what it means to be a biblically responsible investor. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com. Read carefully before investing. Mutual funds distributed by Timothy Partners, Ltd., and ETFs distributed by Foreside Fund Services, LLC. As a paid testimonial, there is no guarantee of future performance, and each experience will differ. Well, I never properly welcomed you to the Dashboard Jesus podcast. I just jumped right into those horrific quotes that happen to all be bots, happen to all be machines, happen to all be pre-programmed AI that's just pushing out a bunch of stuff meant to inflame. So welcome to the Dashboard Jesus podcast. Glad that you are with us. Glad you got through that opening little monologue, and hope that you're intrigued to hear what it is that I firmly believe is happening and how we go about fixing it. What is happening is the generation of an outrage culture, because there are those who profit from an outrage culture. What's happening is this. People go online and become isolated. It happens to all of us. We become isolated. We're not talking to one another anymore. We're consumed in our phones. And when we're consumed in our phones and we don't have interaction with others, I've noticed this in myself. Back when I was doing the radio show and I was commenting on blogs and Facebook posts and I was getting into it with people and arguing and all of that, man, it is a lot easier to be really tough, to be really harsh, to really have a mic drop moment and stick it in somebody's face and represent them in a way that probably isn't accurate, but you take a few of their words and maybe they even misspoke, but you use it and you wield it, and then they feel inclined that they have to defend what they said and never admit a mistake. And it's this hostile exchange because we're not looking at each other face to face. We're not acknowledging our common humanity. I don't see another human being there. I see this faceless entity online. I become isolated from human relationship. That isn't good. I know it's become the norm. I'm just saying it's not good. When humans are isolated from, we weren't made for isolation. We were made for community. And so when we become isolated, that's when bad stuff starts to brew. But it doesn't stop there. Isolation online leads to the development of echo chambers. And you know what an echo chamber is? An echo chamber is you are surrounded by people who think like you, who believe like you. You all think the same thing, and you feed off of one another. You defend one another, again, faceless, so there isn't human relationship here. And then you have the introduction of a tribalist fervor that is fueled by algorithms of social media that continue to pump into your newsfeed the things that it knows is of interest to you that will get you to click. And what do you suppose that is? The latest horrific quote from somebody on the other side. This is what you're fighting against. This is what is threatening the future of your children that you care about. That's how it develops. You are not being shown your neighbor or your coworker. You are being shown professional lunatics who are handpicked. And in the cases where they are real people, they are paid to make you think that they are the enemy. The media and social media algorithms profit from that division because it pulls us in, because it gets us to engage. And we believe that we're somehow engaging in a battle for righteousness. People on the left believe they're engaged in a battle for righteousness as they define it. People on the right believe they're engaged in a battle for righteousness as they define it. And as we do that, we dehumanize the other side. That is a snowball that has been building that at least for a decade, probably two. And it certainly picked up steam during the COVID years when everybody was legally required to be isolated from one another and to take up residence and live online. We developed our pockets of like-minded folks, and the social media algorithms took over from there. It's leading us to a very bad place. You know that, and I know that. So what's the solution to it? Well, certainly we're not going to solve it in a 30-minute podcast, but I will tell you the way it starts to be fixed is when individuals It can't be fixed from the top down. Government can't come in and forbid people to use social media. They can't. You know how that would go over. You know what that would be perceived as. The only way this gets better is when people choose, they make the choice to engage with one another and humanize the other side. Or let me take it even a step further. They lay down the battle of this side versus that side, and they become involved with neighbors and community again. That they take a greater interest in standing out on the front lawn, talking to their neighbor about the latest football game or the latest events or the latest church service or whatever it is, as opposed to going into their room, sitting down, getting on the phone, and cycling through all of these horrific things that people have been saying on the other side. Or all of the great moments where somebody on our side destroyed somebody on their side. When we stop being propagandized and we go out ourselves and humanize others. That's the only way this starts to get fixed. Last night, when I'm recording this, by the time you listen to it, it would have been 2 days ago. It was on Tuesday. There was a candlelight vigil that was held in my town. I was asked to come and say the opening prayer. Family in our community lost a mom who was my age. And so leaves behind kids who are in school and a husband of 20 years. I'm actually doing the funeral service on Saturday for this family. But after the junior high football games at the local school, people had just spread the word verbally, and they did use social media to spread the word that this was going to happen. There was a candlelight vigil. So this is a junior high football game, and I get there a little early to make sure I'm there in time since I'm going to lead off with prayer. And I start looking down from the press box, because that's where I went to sit until it was time. And the stands were starting to fill up, and then the fence along the outside of the football field was starting to fill up. And by the time the game was over and people were invited to come onto the track and start wrapping around the track and the football field, it was insane. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people show up for this vigil. They wrap all the way around the track, which is a quarter mile, standing shoulder to shoulder. The family goes out to midfield, and I'm out there with them with the gentleman who was saying the closing prayer, and then the gentleman who was kind of the MC and made some remarks. So we're out there with the family, which means I have a panoramic view. And after I said the opening prayer and the gentleman made a few remarks, they turned off the lights in the stadium. It got dark, and they started playing some worship music that happened to be the lady who had passed away, some of her favorite songs, and turned on cell phone lights. They had tried candles, but it was outside and the candles wouldn't stay lit. So they turned on cell phone lights. And I actually took a video of it. It actually got to me a little bit. And I spun around in a circle and I filmed all of these lights that were shining. And I imagine from the press box, it was a spectacular view. Now, here's what I know for a fact. Like, I'm not saying I'm just assuming and saying that I know. I actually know for a fact that there were a number of people who were there who vote differently than I do. I know that there are a number of people there that did not agree, say, with Charlie Kirk's politics. Hundreds of people from different political backgrounds, some of them completely apolitical, some of them staunch Union Democrats, some of them staunch social conservatives, but nobody was thinking about that stuff. Why would we? That's not what that event was about. It's not what we were about. They were seeing neighbors grieving, and that's what mattered. They were there to show love and to share love with people that they had at least a cordial relationship with, but they wanted to invest and demonstrate their shared humanity. The disagreements we have about other stuff paled in comparison. That's what I mean. This whole scam that we're being played with, that we are so unlike people on the other side, that whole scam begins to collapse when you look at your fellow human beings and see them as a fellow human being. That if they were trapped in a burning building, you would rush in to try to help them. That if they lost a loved one, you would be there to provide a meal for them or show up at their vigil. And you would do it not because you agree with them on tax policy or on abortion or on the LGBT movement. That's not why you would be there or not be there. You would be there because you're a human being that cares about other human beings. There are more sane people by far than there are of insane or non-existent people that are paid actors online, meant to generate revenue for those who fan the flames of discord and disharmony for profit. I would just say to you and I want this to get better in our country. I don't want to just keep talking about the polarization and the divide. I actually want it to get better. And it only does when you and I, it has to start with you and I. When we realize the real enemy is not your Democrat neighbor. It's not your Republican uncle. It is any force, and I happen to believe that it's demonic, any force or any power that thrives on division. I will refuse to be manipulated by it any longer. And I want you to choose the same. Because when we do, we are delivered and that demonic system collapses. That's a goal worth pursuing. I'd be interested in your thoughts. You can send them my way. Peter@peterheck.com. That's Peter@peterheck.com. Oh, it's not going to be easy. No, I guess not. But I'll tell you how it could start. I can tell you how it could start. Talk to people. Like actually form relationships with people. Do things with people. See your neighbors. Invite neighbors over. Put the phone down. I know they're useful for a ton of things and continue to use them for those things. If you can discipline yourself to not be part of the outrage machine, deprive those that are making profit off of the division of their money, and they will cease operations. Peter@peterheck.com. Peter@peterheck.com. If you're a paid subscriber, I've got something for you coming up in the Extra Mile today that I'm really excited to share with you. I really want you to, it's a question. It's a question and an approach with individuals that I think is going to win every single time. That's all I'm going to say about it. But if you're a paid subscriber, make sure you click on the Extra Mile, and I think you'll be blessed by it. I really do. Those of you who are not paid subscribers, I refuse to bless you. Sorry, I'm kidding, but I'm not. I mean, I'm not going to go into it here. There has to be some kind of perk for a paid subscriber. But anyway, I would love if you all joined and became paid subscribers. And it's not that much, you know. It's $100 a year. Just write it off. I don't know what that means, but just write it off. $100 a year or $10 a month. You can do that. Just try it out. See if you like it. And if not, if it's not a benefit to you, if the ministry isn't doing anything for you, well, then spend the money elsewhere. But I'll tell you what I'm not going to do with the $10 a month. We're going to do it into spreading things like our coming Dashboard Jesus Daily, the Bible study that's going to be sent out a couple minutes long each day directly to phones to get people in the Word, trying to get them in the Word at least as much as they're in the world to start their days. That's the kind of stuff that we'll spend the money on, not the outrage machine. So just a thought if you want to become a paid subscriber. If not, it's great. I'll still send you the From the Dashboard commentary that comes out tomorrow, and I'll see you again next week for another Dashboard Jesus podcast. See you. Thanks for tuning into the Dashboard Jesus podcast. Honestly, forget just the dashboard. This whole car wouldn't be operating if it wasn't for all of these good people and groups that I know personally that have helped sponsor us and keep us going. Friends like Jonathan at Hartman Family Farms, or at my bank, First Farmers Bank and Trust, my lawn care team at Truland Equipment, my insurance company, Norris Insurance, the place where I buy and lease all of my vehicles, McGonigal GM Buick, also J. Watson Creations, the jeweler I use for all the custom pieces that I buy for people that I care about, Stevens Machine, my mechanic at Terrell's Auto Service, my longtime realtor, the Wyman Group, and those fighting for family values in the public square like the Indiana Family Institute and Indiana Right to Life. Thanks to all of those great sponsors.